Hello, Nigel here. As an owl, I love to be awake all night, but allergy sufferers like you probably don't feel the same. So take Xyzal at night to relieve allergies while you sleep. Then wake up fully refreshed for a more productive day. Xyzal works fast and offers 24-hour continuous relief from sneezing, runny nose, itchy watery eyes, and itchy nose and throat, so you can enjoy doing the things you love all day long. Be wise all. Take Xyzal at night. Use as directed. Starts working in 45 minutes.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
Welcome back to Unscripted. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Paige. Today's episode, we are covering a girl who kind of grew up in the shadows of her very famous older sister.
I see what you did there.
Ashlee Simpson. You definitely see what I did there. I think that was a huge moment in her career, was kind of tying in her background to that song. Why is the actual title escaping my name? Did she just call it Living in the Shadows or Shadow?
I think Shadow.
I can't remember the exact name. I'm the worst at remembering the name of songs, but even if I can sing like every single word, it's the weirdest thing ever. Maybe because it's not numbers.
I was going to say that actually surprises me, because as someone who is able to remember such obscure dates all the time, I just kind of assumed that it would translate to everything, all pieces of information.
I really, really wish it did, but it does not translate to names. It is really only dates. So effectively, if you tell me your name and your birthday, I'll probably remember your birthday before your name. I don't know.
Oh, that's that Virgo.
Exactly.
That is something that I've noticed about the Simpson sisters, Ashlee and Jessica, is that in Hollywood, at least by Hollywood standards, they seem to have a really close relationship. And that's not something you see in other Hollywood celebrity relationships.
Especially with siblings that have a little bit of a sizable gap in between them. You don't always see that. I wouldn't say 4 years is a huge gap, but I mean, big enough, right? You're not going to go to high school together. You're going to have some different experiences, even if you are in the same generation. So I think we do see that a lot, especially in Hollywood with siblings with larger gaps.
Yeah, I would say 4 years growing up probably feels pretty big, but as they got into their 20s and 30s, and now I think both are in their 40s, it probably doesn't even feel like that big of a time difference between the two.
There's a scene that's playing in my head that really showcases this closeness. Well, there are two, but the one that I want to mention here is, I can't exactly remember where it was, but it's in the Ashlee Simpson show. And even in my rewatch, I don't think I caught it, but I know that there's this scene. Ashlee is really sad about something, probably like a breakup or whatever. And she sees her big sister on TV and she just goes, Jessica. And it is so just cute. And it made me think about like my big sisters, and like I would be doing the same. I would be absolutely being like, I need you. Yeah. And you could just see that Jessica is that person for her. And then the scene that I mentioned last week in our Jessica Simpson deep dive, where she's in the room with Ashlee and their mom, and they're talking about how she broke up with this guy and he was just kind of like being nasty. And she just goes like, no, mom, like the things that he was texting her, like I couldn't even think of them. Like it was just so like she was mad at him, but in her very Jessica Simpson. Exactly. In her very Jessica Simpson, 22, 3, maybe 24 max years old, like just so upset about it. And just it was so unthinkable, but she was just like so on Ashley's side. And she was supporting Ashlee for whatever she was doing at that meeting too. So like she was huge at this time. She was a huge star at this time, but she's still making time for her family, as one should. It is not an excuse to not make time, but it can get harder and harder to make time, as we've seen.
She had other responsibilities at the time. And something we mentioned, not to keep referencing the Jessica episode, but I feel like that's going to happen because there is so much overlap, at least with their early years and obviously throughout their lives because of their closeness. Something we talked about in that episode was how launching Jessica's career was a whole family endeavor. And we sort of see that same thing play out for Ashlee's launch of her career. For example, we mentioned that Joe Simpson is their father. He was Jessica's manager, so her dadager. Tina, the mom, ended up becoming Jessica's stylist, and Ashlee was a backup dancer at one point for Jessica. And for Ashlee, we see Joe also function as the dadager, the manager father.
He was also her agent.
Okay,
so,
see?
right. He was doing
Double
all of
duty.
the things. And yeah, and managers can kind of double dip in that role, I think. Like, I'm no expert, but I think what's interesting in terms of Ashlee's career comparatively is, so we already know that they moved to LA in 1999. So Ashlee is probably 14 going on 15 at this time. And Jessica is like 19, 18, 19. And so you're right. It was a huge family endeavor. But while all this is going on, Ashlee's background is actually in ballet. And you also learn that in the Ashlee Simpson show. But she, more than just like, oh, she used to go to dance classes, they actually lied about her age. And when she was 11, she was dancing, or well, I should say enrolled at the School of American Ballet in New York City. That's a huge deal. And she actually was the youngest person
because
ever
they lied.
admitted. Because they lied by a year, but she was admitted even at that young age and being a year or 6 months behind or whatever she was. And he admittedly lied. We're not like making that up. Like he said, fact. We lied. Yeah, it's too late now. So what are they going to do?
Yeah, what are the statute of limitations online for school admission?
Exactly. After that, in the Ashlee Simpson show, she references that she stopped ballet around 15, and she actually couldn't even do like the leg lift. She talks about it. I wasn't judging it. She literally says like, I couldn't even lift my leg. So by 20-ish, she really didn't have like that ballet drive and
influence in her life.
Influence is so the right word. Like she wasn't doing all the stretching and stuff that it takes because she didn't have to. They made the decision. She did, and her family, clearly the way they are, to not do that anymore. She started doing commercials.
You had mentioned a little bit ago that her family picked up the entire family and moved to LA. And that timeline sort of matches up with her ending her ballet classes or schooling, because that happened in 99, and that would be around the time she was 14 or 15.
Right.
And so you could see that everyone in the family, from her mom, the dad, even the sister, made a sacrifice to help Jessica's career. But that favor was eventually returned to Ashlee when they were getting her career launched.
Yeah, she ended up being one of the backup dancers for her sister in a very successful tour, the Sweet Kisses tour. Maybe that's also because it's 1999, one of the reasons why she was able to kind of quit ballet, yet keep dancing at this time. And of course, doing the commercials, because this is all like 99, 2000.
And what a fantastic opportunity to work in the arts, which is what she was going to school for, right? She was going to school for ballet. Now, obviously, ballet and hip hop dancing aren't exactly the same, and maybe their skills aren't always transferable to one another, but it's still a job in the arts. She gets to travel with her family across the country on this tour and get paid. So I feel like she got the best of both worlds here.
You mentioned her getting paid, which, of course, if you're a backup dancer, you're getting paid.
I mean, I don't know how much.
So.
It was a smaller tour, but she obviously was compensated.
Exactly. And I think that is one of the things that made it work too, though. So I don't think the decision was very hard for Ashlee to be included. I think there's some nepotism there, but also clearly she was talented enough to make it into that school at 11 years old. You know, that's a pretty big deal. So I don't want to like trivialize that accomplishment. I think where Ashlee really shined and started showing interest around the same time, though, or just after, is acting. And you could tell that at least at this time, was just really what she wanted to do. She appears in Malcolm in the Middle, a huge show at the time. She was in Hot Chick. She was also, and this is where I met Ashlee Simpson,
I was going to say
if you
probably
will.
her biggest role up until this point.
She portrayed Cecilia Smith, who was Simon Campbell's girlfriend on Seventh Heaven. And she actually was like a janitor. It was just a really wild time in TV.
That
like,
show
what
was
is
wild.
going on?
We might have to do a deep dive on that because there was a lot that happened. And
they're deep diving on their own.
Oh, yes.
Podcast.
And Ashlee was actually on that episode. So it turns out her time on Seventh Heaven really did impact her because she made a lot of lifelong friends. And I believe she said Beverly Mitchell is still one of her closer friends. And she was a person that she would show her songs before they were released. They were very supportive of each other. And obviously that continues to this day if she ended up on that Seventh Heaven rewatch show.
Here's some tea. When I was living in San Diego, I actually was a hostess for all of 1 month. I was liked working in childcare more than like food service or retail. So during a brief period of me hostessing and pretending I wanted to work in food service again at like 20, 21 years old, Bev, came in to the restaurant and was having like a family meal. So that was kind of interesting. Like, of course I had to clap eyes, but I was not annoying. I just passed by the table, obviously, when I'm like seating people, but, and everybody left them alone, it seemed. But so there's some little bit of tea. I got to see one of Ashlee's friends, Bev, but I didn't know that they were so close until you just mentioned that. I'm surprised we didn't see her on the show, on the Ashlee Simpson show.
Oh, I'm like, what show? Yeah. Because I was thinking like, wait, we're talking about Seventh Heaven. She was on the show.
Right.
But yes, this makes sense.
Exactly.
Just to dive back into the whole Ashlee Simpson timeline that we're doing right now. We know that, like I mentioned, during her time on Seventh Heaven, she was obviously recording music because she was showing her friend Bev these unreleased songs. She does release her first recorded song titled Christmas Past, Present, and Future. And it was for a holiday album, School's Out Christmas. She was making that transition from acting, which really was her own place at the time in the Simpson household. Jessica wasn't acting as much. And she was now taking some steps into her sister's territory to fill it out, I guess.
And she also seemed at this time to be very interested in this. So all these like different periods of time, these eras for Ashlee, her ballet era, her, backup dancer era, her acting era, her Ashlee Simpson show era, which coincides with the making of her first album. And that first album was like a pretty big hit. Honestly, people dog it a little bit, but like she worked with some huge people like Cara DioGuardi. Like that's a huge name. I actually just saw a scene, and Cara DioGuardi's obviously quite a lot older than you and I, but looking at this scene, she's actually like younger at the time than you and I. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've outaged a scene of Cara DioGuardi. It felt so awkward, but Cara specifically wrote Pieces of Me with her. And that is one of the like main singles from that entire album. So,
and for those listening who may not be familiar with her name, she worked with the likes of Kelly Clarkson for that Breakaway album. She's worked with Christina Aguilera. She's worked with Jesse McCartney.
She was the host of American Idol for a couple seasons. Like she's a big deal.
She was working with Ashlee's sister's contemporaries, and clearly those teen pop idols, Britney and Christina, were doing something right. So to get her to write on the album with her was a big get.
And so was John Shanks. However, listen, no defamation here. Okay, John, it was a long time ago, but I hope this behavior has changed.
What did he do?
He was constantly trying to flirt with her.
Oh.
And I had the Ashlee Simpson show on while we were in bed one night, and Randall comes in from playing his games, and he comes into this scene where John, who again is producing, he like calls her hot.
Oh.
And just, it got a little grosser from there, but I don't remember the exact quote. And Randall and I looked at each other and we were like our jaws were to the floor.
It was like enough for you to bump on it where this was weird.
And I had to rewind. I said, what did he just say? let me make sure my initial like visceral reaction is right. And yeah, it was creepy what he was saying.
It sounds creepy.
But she didn't show a problem with it. And I go, ooh, I wonder if she's trying to hold back. She did look a little uncomfortable. But then in this last episode she was talking about how close she is with John and how much she is like, you know, really enjoys working with him kind of thing. So like, I don't know if that went over her young head or if maybe it's not as creepy from an angle that she experiences. I don't know.
Where my mind goes is this is reality TV in the early aughts.
True.
Everything back then was so scripted and the audience maybe wasn't privy to it. So what in this scene was real and what wasn't? Because everything that happened, I feel like, while watching that show back was done for the TV show. So like her dyeing her hair black, when we see it on screen, she basically has her hair, like it looks like it was professionally dyed prior. And then she just shows up, what's it? And that's the scene of her dyeing it. There's like no, like if you've ever dyed your hair at home, you know that stuff is messy, especially if you're not used to doing it. And
you get on your ears.
On your ears,
hands.
you get like little dribbles on your foreheads. And she was dyeing her hair black. There was none of that. So that indicates to me that, okay, that was either refilmed or filmed.
It was
afterward.
A pickup scene. Regardless, it was absolutely a pickup scene to fill in a gap of explanation.
Of
but
why
also,
she dyed her.
It's also interesting, right? Because the whole theme of that show is Ashlee coming in to her own, out of Jessica's shadow, like that type of thing. And so, of course, they're going to want to explain why it's black, but also be like, oh, this is going to be funny and interesting. Same thing with when they revisit a ballet class. She goes with like two friends to a ballet class. And I was referencing this episode just a few moments ago, but like they're wearing tutus and all the things. And it's like, you know, the MTV was just like, look, we're filming a show. We really want the star to like be in this class and da-da-da. You see that all the time in the early 2000s, but they always make fun of something and they're always trying to build personality with those types of little scenes when, to me, those types of scenes always really bug me. Like, I don't need to see you goofing around in ballet class. I just I really don't.
Her relatable, and that's what we needed for her to sell her records, which was the purpose of the show, right? It was to present her to the general public. Like,
right,
she's more than Jessica Simpson's little sister. She is a person of her own. She has her own personality, her own friends, her own career goals,
right?
And
she's the goofy, accessible and relatable Simpson sister. She still lives in a townhouse apartment that was probably very expensive still. And she is the younger sister. We understand that. She's goofy.
And she's going
real
through boy troubles at the time, which we will get into later. But I will say one person we meet on her show is Ryan Cabrera. And as we later learn, that relationship was completely fake.
Okay, this blew my mind when you told me, because especially at the time, I was sold on the fact that
they were like,
they dated for like 2 years.
That they dated, that they were going to be a couple that makes it. No, it was not fake. Apparently, I guess we could get into it a little bit right now.
Please. I mean, we're right there because it's by like the third episode. They're already making out on one of his music videos. So let's go there.
Right. So apparently the tea is that he was living with the Simpson family because he was trying to launch his career.
Okay, they talk about that. Yes, that he lived with them.
Right. And so he's launching his career and Ashlee's launching her career. They have a TV show for Ashlee and they say, why don't you why don't we have you guys together so we can like get the exposure together? Do you know what I mean?
And this makes so much sense because they also toured like
Together.
old school, high school tours. Like after malls weren't what they were in the 80s and 90s. Although Ashlee Simpson did come to malls. I remember one of our local malls in SoCal and many of them that she attended. But I think where it really was at was these high school tours. Because you can even see Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, they were doing the high school tours too, more than malls. Because more and more and more kids weren't just after school tooling about the mall. They were going home. They were locking doors. Like we were not doing the same things as back then, you know? And so that's where I feel like we see Ryan and Ashlee going to a high school together on the show. Now, does that mean they went to a bunch? I don't know. And the show, right, grain of salt, but I'm pretty sure that that's like what they were doing. Again, only because I know of other artists that were doing that too.
I think we can all agree that feeling better in your body shouldn't be a full-time job. That's why Hers makes it easier to get started and stick with it. It's backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you. If you're prescribed, you can get medication as a part of a doctor-developed weight loss program, complete with ongoing care, check-ins, dosage and medication adjustments, and access to 24/7 online support at no additional cost. There aren't any hidden fees, and there are no membership fees. Weight loss by Hers is realistic, not restrictive. Hers provides access to affordable weight loss plans built around oral medication kits and GLP-1 injectable options. With oral medication kits starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid up front. This isn't cookie-cutter care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure that you get what you need to get results, all from the comfort of your couch. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through Hers. Whether you want to lose weight, grow thicker, fuller hair, or find relief for anxiety, Hers has you covered. Visit forhers.com/diaries to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/diaries. forhers.com/diaries. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not approved or reviewed for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased.
There's so much freaking noise out there about the best ways to take care of yourself, especially during pregnancy and postpartum. That's why I am so thankful that I discovered Ritual way back in 2018 after my sister turned me on to them. For me, I take their 18 Plus multivitamin as well as their probiotic, but they do also offer tailored nutrient support for key phases of pregnancy, all the way from fertility to essential prenatal and postnatal multis. I continue to choose Ritual and have since 2018 because of the way the products made me feel immediately. But before that, I pushed that order button because I was able to go on the website and see exactly where they source their ingredients from. The transparency was a really big deal for me. I also really love how easy these vitamins are to take. Each capsule features this really cool delayed release design that makes it super gentle on an empty stomach. So yes, you don't have to make sure that you have something in your stomach or not when you take a Ritual vitamin. And trust me, I've taken them both ways, so I can attest. Ritual is also third-party tested and Clean Label Project certified, so you know you can trust it. I'm also super excited because I just got my first FSA card, and Ritual is FSA eligible, so I will definitely be looking forward to spending my pre-tax dollars on my Ritual vitamins. When it comes to pregnancy and postpartum support, you want products backed by research and transparency. Mom Founded Ritual puts in the work and shows you the proof. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/diaries. That's ritual.com/diaries for 25% off your first month.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins, My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Everyone is telling her she dreamt it, but in The Woman in Cabin 10, Lo Blacklock is determined to uncover the truth. In the gripping new thriller coming to Netflix October 10th, Keira Knightley plays a journalist aboard a luxury yacht who witnesses a crime she can't unsee. Adapted from Ruth Ware's best-selling novel, directed by Simon Stone. Watch The Woman in Cabin 10, only on Netflix on October 10th.
Can you imagine NSYNC showing up to your school or Ashlee Simpson showing up to your school? Why didn't my school get those opportunities?
Oh, I know. My school was so lame. They said no to like everything, or so, you know how the rumors go. There was all kinds of interesting rumors of MTV wanting to film there and then all these things. And they said no. Although even Laguna Beach ended up saying no, but they said yes first. And I think that that's the difference for a lot of other Southern California high schools that they were going around. I think the immediate thing was like, nope, because they just don't want to deal with the parents. And can you imagine dealing with the parents today?
No.
And again, this isn't like a negative thing towards any of you that are parents of high schoolers, but you guys do a really great job of being involved and questioning these things, rightfully so. And so I don't even think the high school would try. Like, if you can barely get the support of baby boomers to do it for millennial kids, try Gen X. Like, please try Gen X and elder millennials with their high school students. Like, no way. So it, to me, again, though, it just like, I was so like, I didn't even question it back then that they were really dating. And so I wonder, like, if they did ever even really have crushes or anything like that, though, or like where it came from besides that.
It's two young, hot people that are talented and spending a lot of time together. But
True.
The seriousness of the relationship probably was either played up and made to be something looking like a real relationship for the show rather than a hookup. I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much. But as you were talking, I pulled up a clip of them in Ryan's music video, and I totally forgot about his highlighted hair. That was just the look of the time.
The frosted tips kind of idea, which it was kind of dying out, but it had made this like evolution of like, they were literally highlighted. Like, you weren't frosting tips anymore. It was full on highlighted. And his hair was like,
he had a lot of hair. It was big.
It was huge, but because like it wasn't spiked, like you couldn't spike it that much anymore. Like, I mean, I think guys are still spiking their hair, but like it was a little bit different than the original spikes of very early 2000s because we're more towards mid 2000s now. So it's just like this evolution of where frosted tips and spikes went is Ryan Cabrera. And if you
they
have
all
a lot
met
of hair,
there,
they all
it all converged in Ryan Cabrera's on his head.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if he still has that much hair because he's
popped up on my TikTok. He's married to a WWE performer.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm only laughing because it's like Ryan Cabrera is a musician. He's not this like ripped guy, right? Like he's not overweight or anything like that at all, but like he's not some like ripped dude. So to like marry somebody who like probably has to be very fit is hilarious.
I saw a clip online of how they met. So I guess back in the day, Ryan Cabrera didn't have access to his social accounts. He let someone managing them basically handle everything. Well, he was very interested in actuality in the WWE, so his accounts would follow other accounts and engage with those because that was an interest of his. And it turns out whoever was managing his Twitter was engaging in a back and forth with Alexa Bliss. And she thought it was him because why wouldn't she? Why would she think that she was talking to some intern or some social media manager?
Right. Let's be real. Like, he was not the biggest star at this time. So you would think that like, yeah, you might have an assistant here or there, have to respond to things. But like, you would think, yeah, okay, it's Ryan. That to me though also shows that like she might manage her own, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And she has like a lot of followers and is pretty well known in her space.
Right. That's what I'm saying. She would have her own, like, kind of like WWE has like a cult following, but it still cracks me up that he, a musician, married a WWE star because, like, for her, she probably has to be pretty fit, you know, pretty strong. Whereas, like, for a musician, he's like, you know, he's lean, but he's not like this big, like, strong guy. So it's just kind of like a funny match. But like, she's certainly not like overly bulked up, like bodybuilder status.
No,
she's not
she's very petite looking. And she
remember China from the 90s?
Yes.
She was like, that's what you picture. That's not Alexa Bliss.
This is like, we have to remember the WWE is very, very scripted, unlike unscripted. But yeah, it's very scripted. You're more acting out scenes in storylines that are pre-planned. And that's why I could see them together, because clearly they both have an interest in wrestling. They both are into the arts. He's into music. She's into acting for the WWE. I guess the social media manager eventually told Ryan, hey, like this really, really hot chick, Alexa Bliss, is reaching out to you. And he's like, wait, what? And so they eventually met. They got engaged.
Because he knew exactly who it was.
Yeah. And
or so it seems.
Now they have a daughter together. So I think what a cool love story for them.
It's really cute. Very, like, what do I want to say? Very, like, such a classic. I don't want to call it Hollywood because we're not like talking about A-listers here, but it's just like very industry love story.
Yeah.
But if we get back to Ashlee, past the show or like during the show era, 2003, 4, maybe up to 5, there's 2 seasons. A huge moment for her. She's rising. Okay, people are catching on. We loved the album Autobiography. It was a really fun album. And then we get to October of 2004. Ashlee is set to be the guest of an episode of Saturday Night Live, which if you watch, you know, the musical guests come on one episode at a time. Usually when they're promoting something like an album, a show, they're growing their career.
And like Paige said, this is during the Autobiography time. So it makes sense that she would be on because she's relevant.
Yes, she was very relevant. People were going to watch, and boy, were they watching.
Yes.
Ready for her performance.
But let's talk about what happened on the show. So I guess most people, if you're our age, if you're a millennial and above, you know about the lip syncing incident. It really was a turning point in her career. But for those younger than us, they may not be familiar with how big of a flub this was. She gets, you know, in front of the microphone and the music starts for the second song that she's about to sing. And it starts playing the backing vocals of the song that she just had performed. So she stands there awkwardly, literally like a deer in the headlights, doesn't know what to do. Music's still playing.
And then she starts jigging.
Yeah, she does like a little like jig. A hoedown dance where she just pumps her arms up and down and her legs go everywhere. And then she just sort of runs off the stage, which, I mean, I probably would have run off. I don't know what I would have done. That must have been terrifying to know millions of people just watch that happen live.
This is a bit of a fourth wall being broken, though, because in reality, your vocal cords are not always ready for performance, even when you are the best singer in the world. So I am not going to say that, like, oh, who cares that it was a vocal track and that's not syncy at all, and she looked silly when she did a jig and then ran off. I'm not saying that, but we come to find out, and this is an era where we are learning a lot of things because thank you, internet, thank you, YouTube, all of these things are finally being kind of broken down. It's like a fourth wall being broken. So it wasn't that weird that she was using it, especially because her camp says that she was having some vocal cord inflammation, so some laryngitis and acid reflux on the day of the broadcast. And so for her safety, they decided to use that, when in reality, I think that they probably always have a vocal track ready, every single artist you can possibly imagine. And it's not because they can't sing live.
Okay, well, so let's talk a little bit about that. You mentioned what her camp comes out and says as a response to what happened. But at the time of the SNL, that episode, when it's airing, she runs off stage. And then at the end of the episode, everyone usually gathers on stage and they have a moment to say goodbye to the audience. That's the live audience, but also the audience watching at home on their couches. Well, Ashlee comes to the forefront, and I believe Jude Law was there with her. He was the one who introduced her. He was the celebrity act that was in the scene, the sketches.
The host of the episode, yeah.
Correct. She was the musical artist. She's standing on stage with her hands on her face. Jude Law has his arm around her, and she goes, "I'm so sorry. My band, my drummer got excited, hit the wrong button, but that's live TV for you." And then she sort of leaves it at that. And that left a super bad taste in everyone's mouths that saw it, because she wasn't taking accountability. At least that's how people saw it. And instead threw her band under the bus when they were just doing their job and doing what was pre-planned. And it turns out that I was watching clips of this. So for Saturday Night Live, it's obviously in the name, Saturday Night Live. Everything that happens, or most of what happens, is done live. There are pre-recorded sketches, but those are approved of ahead of time by Lorne Michaels, who has famously run the show.
And you can tell which ones are. You can completely tell, because they almost act as like a short film that you're watching.
They need
like
a little bit more producing.
Yeah, and it's not like they never try and pass them off as live. Like, again, the way that they are filmed and presented is very much where you know that it's not on a stage. It's just very easy to tell. I don't know how else to describe it. But I love SNL, so I've been watching for like my entire life. So I guess for me, it's very easy to tell, but I swear anybody could.
So it's important to know that what Saturday Night Live is presenting their audience is, it's very clear what's filmed prior, and then everything else is live. And it's very important to the show's creator, the showrunner, and its audience that every element that isn't presented in a scripted, like a pre-filmed way, that it's done live. And there was an interview done with Lorne Michaels, who I said is the showrunner of Saturday Night Live. And he's asked if he knew that she was going to be singing or lip syncing a pre-recorded, to a pre-recorded track. And he said no. It turns out that she did do rehearsal, and that was done with a pre-recorded track. And they were told, oh, it's to preserve her voice. But he was assured that it would be done live when the time came for the show. And so you can imagine how like blindsided he was as a showrunner that it wasn't done live. And it turns out it was a decision done by her father, her camp, to preserve her voice, because she had acid reflux. Then it comes out that no, it was vocal nodes. So the story is ever evolving, and she eventually does take responsibility for it, but it takes a while.
I would argue that yes, most artists on SNL are preparing to the point where they can sing live, because you can even tell sometimes, like, I don't know how to describe it, but sometimes the way it's sung or the audio, like you could just tell, like, oh, I know this song, but this is clearly live. The way, because they usually change up just this or that, especially for an SNL performance.
And when a song is recorded for an album, literally that song is sung so many times in a row, and the producer will go and get every single little piece of each performance that is the best, and they'll piece them all together. So that's why live performances don't always sound like what's on the album, because that was the best of the best of the best of every single take versus what the person can do in one take.
Live. Beautiful point. Like, they might avoid a note because they don't want to not hit that note live on SNL. So I would argue that most of them are live, or if they do have something that is of concern, they of course will always have a vocal track ready, because you just never know what's going to happen to your voice, I guess. But anyways, because I do know somebody who's married to a musician that also was very popular around this time, actually. And I brought that up about Halsey one time, and she DM'd me and was like, hey, it's actually like so common, because I was saying that Halsey's performance was so good, but I couldn't decide if there was a vocal track or not. So I posted like, vocal track or not for this performance, it was so good. And she messaged me like, even
like,
if
hey,
it
by the
was,
way.
it's so common. And I was like, like she wasn't like being snippy, but I think she wanted to like erase any negativity that I might have about a vocal track. And I was like, no, like it was such a good performance. I don't even care. I'm just curious. Cause like, even if it was, it's her voice and she did that. Or well, you hope it's their voice, but some of them have ghost singers, just saying.
J-Lo. I think I said that in the last one. That's so funny that you bring this up though, about it being standard practice in the industry, because after this happened, Joe Simpson, not only it is Jessica's father, but Ashlee's father / manager and possibly agent at this time as well. He does come out and say, it's standard in the business to have backing tracks. It's not that uncommon, but I guess it's just the way you have to in order to get the performances done.
That's you calling in sick. Like they don't get to just like canceling is such a huge deal. A vocal track is them calling in sick.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And so he had said like, this is something everyone does. It's not that uncommon as a response to the backlash that she received.
Which is sad because it was a turning point. It was a turning point in her career. People really did start to turn their backs on her and they kind of didn't ever turn them around again.
No, and she never really did recover from this, even though she eventually went on SNL again.
Sure. And that's one of the ways you can kind of take your power back a little bit. And I'm sure they probably made a joke about it when she went back on too. Obviously, like I said, I've been watching SNL my whole life, so I can't remember like when she came back on or in what capacity, but I don't think what was happening in January of 2005 right after was really helpful either. She kind of had a bit of a love triangle situation with somebody we've also covered, our girl Lindsay Lohan and Wilmer Valderrama. So like blast from the past, Lindsay and Wilmer. However, her representatives say there was never anything romantic, but it just didn't help that like after that, Ashlee was seen as being like this other woman in like a really beloved stars relationship. Because that was a big relationship, Lindsay and Wilmer. Huge.
He famously dated her when she was underage and then went on to date Mandy Moore when she was underage and then Demi Moore when she was underage. And then Demi Moore came out with that song. So he has a weird track
Get your shit together, bro. Get it together. Honestly, go find an adult. I'm sorry. I have like zero tolerance.
He kept getting older and his girlfriend stayed the same age.
That's the best line of the 10-minute version of All Too Well by Taylor Swift when she calls Jake Gyllenhaal out for that. Oh, but not to get into Taylor with this episode, but it just reminded me of that.
And I actually thought when you were mentioning another hiccup in Ashlee's career that happened after SNL was you were going to mention the Orange Bowl performance. It was disastrous. I
remind me. I don't even remember what happened.
Okay, so she has SNL. It's a very embarrassing, but like kind of human moment where she runs off stage and realizes, oh, I didn't know what to do. So she's given an opportunity to perform the Orange Bowl halftime. She performs La La. I don't know what happened during that performance. A lot of people say that she couldn't hear her in-ears, which we all know from like Taylor Swift what they are now. If you're not in the music industry, it basically just plays like beats or, like little clicking sounds. So the singer knows where to stay in the song.
And like maybe what version of the chorus they're going to do. Like it might say la la, full out, la la, blah. Like there's like little notes in there too. But yeah, the beats keep them on track with the song because if those are out of their ears, all they can hear, especially at a place like the Orange Bowl, is going to be echo, 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 echo.
It was a very tough performance to watch. I can't imagine being the one performing it on stage after she was just ripped to shreds on SNL.
And she never promised to be that seasoned either. That's what's so ironic about this. She never promised to be the seasoned musician. She always promised to be the one that was having fun and was liking singing. She was not the best.
No, but I think people sort of saw it as, was she this fabricated star? Her sister is probably one of the most famous people at the time because, we're having Newlyweds, which this performance actually did show up on Newlyweds. Jessica's watching and she goes, oh no, she lost her in-ears. And then Nick responds, it's okay. It's football. They're all drunk. They're not going to care. But it turns out they did care because
freaking Nick, dude, he was so wrong too.
He was so wrong. So wrong and so loud. But he says that the performance ends and literally the entire stadium starts booing Ashlee. Can you imagine? She just picked herself back up from the SNL performance. And now this happens. And it probably was soul crushing when you're just trying to go out there and have fun and prove that you're not living in your sister's shadow, like her song says, or her song, she, at least according to her, is about coming out of the shadow, not necessarily in the moment of living in the shadow. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But I just can't imagine. It was blow after blow for her. And then to have this love triangle happen with Lindsay Lohan, Wilmer, and her. Because we've talked about Lindsay at the time, and we also did a deep dive on Lindsay. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen. But she was a little bit unpredictable in this early 2000s era. So it must have been tough. You mentioned the story of Kristen Cavallari, Lindsay Lohan, and then there was Talon, where Kristen says that Lindsay showed up at Talon's house, saw Kristen there as a friend, but she was sleeping in his bed platonically and started throwing plates or dishes. So can you imagine being in an actual love triangle with her as one of the corners of the triangle?
And she already has trust issues that she has discussed in that documentary as well. So that wouldn't be going over very well, probably, unless Lindsay also knew it was BS. But we may never know because it didn't carry on. Like, it's not really a feud that I even remembered before. I was kind of like deep diving back into mid 2000s Ashlee Simpson lore. But luckily, all of that did not stop her from releasing her next album, I Am Me, in October of 2005. Another really great album. But to me, and yes, this is going to fast forward us a little bit, but that's kind of what happened. Is like we got that album and then I can't say Ashlee disappeared, but I don't know that it did as well as Autobiography.
It still had some great songs on it though.
It did. It really, really did. But then I would say by the time we get to Bittersweet World, I don't know, that's not my favorite. But this is also when she's in another transition in life. This is around late 2007 and kind of through 2011 where she releases her third album, Bittersweet World. She gets married. She becomes a mom. Yeah.
Well, and we can't like glaze over who she married. She married Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy. So even though her career was sort of falling apart, her personal life seemed to be doing well. She was in love. She met this great guy. They had a baby together. She seemed really happy.
And guess where they got married? They got married at her parents' place in Encino. So you could still see the family was still just very much behind Ashlee and what she wanted to do at any time that she wanted to do it, which is beautiful.
And now that we've seen what has become of her music career, it sort of, like you said, dwindled away. She returns to acting and we see her return to Melrose Place, and that people didn't like it. They didn't like her role. And she even says in an interview that I saw that she did the best she could with the material that she was given. She also made an appearance as Roxy Hart on Broadway, which did have some good feedback from audiences. They described her as dazzling, and it really showcased that she still is a talented person, but it just, for some reason, she was having misstep after misstep.
And unfortunately, after starring as Roxy Hart in Chicago, while she's having some career success here with the Melrose Plays and Broadway, in February of 2011, not even 3 years after getting married, she and Pete Wentz did file for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. And that divorce was finalized by November. So the two of them began co-parenting their children. She kind of dates around a little bit. She continues to hold that Roxy Hart title and performs as Roxy Hart at the Hollywood Bowl production of the show, which is also another kind of big deal to showcase all kinds of different people that have, performed in that show. We saw that recently with Lion King, where Kim K's daughter
Northwest
performs. It was kind of like that, but for Chicago, which is why people were so mad because it is such a big deal. So it's a huge deal that she got to be Roxy Hart again for the Hollywood Bowl production. And in 2013, she begins dating Evan Ross. And yes, Ross meaning the son of singer Diana Ross.
Okay. So I really want to get into that relationship.
Yeah, let's do it.
But we sort of skipped a moment that was a huge part of the cultural zeitgeist at the time in Ashlee's career and life. So if we back up just a little bit and then we'll go to this relationship.
Please.
Ashley has probably one of the best looking nose jobs in Hollywood, at least in my opinion. It completely...
Agreed. It changed her whole face.
It changed her whole face, but for the better. Like she was already a beautiful girl, but she's like, you can't look away when you see her face now. And this happened back in 2006, right around the time where she's transitioning out of the tough time of SNL, the Orange Bowl. She's now in a relationship with Pete Wentz. She gets a nose job, and it's very noticeable because, like you said, it changed her face completely.
Her nose had so much character to it, and then it changed. So they didn't even really try and hide it. I'm pretty sure she had like a People magazine cover or something of like, yes, I got a little bit of work done. I think she has since had more work done. I think she's still beautiful, but that moment of just the nose job, quote, just the nose job, she looked amazing, and it did not look overdone or anything like that. Now she's probably had like a revision or two, I think.
I think it still looks good.
It still looks good, but it still has changed, in my opinion, from the first one. But that could also just be aging because your nose does continue to change. And
but your nose grows as you get older.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's changed or it grows. And she's had kids, which also I have heard changes your feet and maybe your nose.
It changes everything. Like there's nothing the same. You get skin tags.
Oh,
you
great.
get,
cool
stretch marks. You get pregnancy nose, fat feet, whatever.
And also the woman is 40, almost 41 years old. How could we say that she needs to look like she did when she's 25? Like, really? Like, come on.
It's true. But yeah, I couldn't let this era go by without mentioning the nose because it was in all the tabloids. That's all people could talk about at the time.
Yeah. And again, I think they did their own release about it, if I remember correctly. And that's how I chose to learn more about it. I'm pretty sure. But again, so long ago, right? We're talking 15, 20 years. So, and that is another huge pivot in her career. She's
whether she likes it or not, like it'll always be part of her story now.
It is, exactly. But I think it's cool to be real about that. So I hope she was as real as I remember she was. Otherwise, they just let it do the talking. Like they just weren't trying to hide it. This is kind of what I remember.
They neither confirmed nor denied it for a really long time. And then she was in Harper's Bazaar the following year in 2007. And she does remark on it saying that she didn't do it because she was insecure. It was just a personal choice. And I think that that was the best way to go about addressing it. It's just a personal choice.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean she didn't like the way she looked. It just means that she was ready for a different look.
Exactly. They didn't necessarily do the Kylie Jenner, no, I don't have lip filler. Even though you can literally see when she's like 14 with like almost no lips. And then all of a sudden at like 16, 17, they start getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
The Kardashians, not that we're talking about them, but they still haven't acknowledged their BBLs and then the BBLs that they got rid of.
Exactly. Or they took them down because some of them still have pretty sizable booties that are not
nothing like they were before, though.
Bingo. Exactly. But I'm so glad you took us back there because that is such an important moment. But so, of course, is fast forwarding back again to the 2013, 2014 when she starts dating Evan and eventually gets married to him on August 30th, 2014 at the Ross estate in Connecticut. And then shortly after.
And his mother, Diana Ross, actually officiated the wedding.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
she did. Know that. I love that.
I've seen a few clips because they had their own show, Ashlee and Evan, a couple years into their marriage. That was a show that only lasted less than a season. I think it was 6 episodes. I've seen a few clips. They pop up on my TikTok all the time. And
from the Ashlee plus Evan, that one?
Yes.
Yeah. they had an album or an EP that went along with that too. That was really beautiful. And I kind of wanted another season, but I think it was more so just like she did with Ashlee Simpson show, short term, let's pump the album out, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And she did come out and say, I don't know if you were saying you wanted another season of the show or more tracks off another album with them.
I mean, I'll take both, but I wanted another season of the show. Sure. And I swear it was just an EP. So we could have had more music.
She came out and said that the reason they chose not to do any more episodes was because they wanted to keep their kids out of the limelight or away from the cameras, which is weird because like they initially agreed to sign on for their kids in front of the cameras. So maybe she had a change of heart, which you're allowed to change your mind. I think people have a hard time accepting that people change their minds all the time.
Well, especially since, I mean, maybe the kids didn't love it and they realized as a family, oh my gosh, this doesn't work for us. And that's okay because it kind of did work for Ashlee's family. Clearly, they're all still close. There wasn't some like huge turmoil that ended up being so bad that it was like public, from being in the limelight commercials and singing and acting. Like it worked for their family. They figured it out. And maybe for their family, they're like, I don't want to do this.
Did it work for their family though? Because there was speculation at the time that the real true reason for them canceling the show or not signing on for a second season was because Ashlee and Evan weren't getting along and they were fighting.
Well, that's my whole point. It worked for her family growing up, but did it work for theirs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably didn't.
It worked for her source family, but not the family that she's building.
Right. And maybe that was a bit of a shock to the system. And he also being raised with an actor as a sister and a singer as a mom, they kind of understood it. But maybe it didn't work for the kids or their marriage because I hadn't heard that. But I was kind of wondering when doing research, wait, did they get divorced?
No, they're still
been
together.
Almost 10 years, but they are together. They just had a third child 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, her third child, their second.
Yes.
They had a daughter born in 2015 and a son in 2020. But in the clips that I've seen of their show, Ashlee plus Evan, it's clear that those rumors of them not getting along probably are really what happened because it almost feels like he's her fourth child. She's constantly having to do everything for him. So like not just the mental load of being a mom and a wife, but like the mental load of caring for your husband that is forever a child. Like he has like Peter Pan syndrome, it feels like.
It's no excuse, but this could play into it. It really could. He is 4 years younger than her.
Honestly, it probably doesn't help, but
yeah.
And also the fact that he grew up with such an icon of a mom in Diana Ross. His life and upbringing was probably very different than hers. Yes, her sister was Jessica Simpson, but his mom was famous for decades at that point, and everything from infanthood to adulthood has been affected by her influence, by her talents, by her money.
Right.
And you can see that in one of their interactions on the show. Ashlee tells Evan, look, I really want us to have some alone time together. We have been with your group of friends. They have a posse that goes with them everywhere. We're talking like 10, 15, 20 people. They're always at the house. They're always at everywhere they go. And she tells him, I really want to spend time just us. Let's go to Palm Springs. It'll be the five of us, I think, Ashlee, Evan, and their three kids. And he's like, okay, well, who's going to drive us to Palm Springs? And she kind of looks at him, and I don't know if it's because she's very aware
we're driving, homie.
Literally, yes. She you can tell she can feel the presence of the cameras on her because it's a little embarrassing to have a full-grown man say, who's going to drive us? Who's going to cook for us?
Right.
Well, you're a father and a husband and part of this family. You're going to pitch in.
That's a turnoff for, I would argue, the majority of cis hetero women to have a man say something like that. It's like, well, let me be a passenger princess or whatever,
right?
Like, of course, female partners drive and stuff, but you know what I mean. But I'm glad to hear that they are still together and, raising their two children and her child with Pete once together. But what I was even more excited to hear about very recently, we've seen so many clips outside of the fact that she has since the Ashlee plus Evan show in the last decade. She has also been in a movie, a Christmas movie. That's like a quintessential, I feel like you have properly aged in the industry type move. You are in like a Hallmark.
Yeah.
This one, I guess, is QVC plus, but you're in a Christmas movie. So love that for her. But she has a residency at the Venetian. And that is what I'm referencing when I say clips all over the place because I would say, well, you know how virility works in these days. So this is what, like a week or two ago that we saw. But on June 3rd, it was announced that she was going to perform. And she did a great job. And the clips that I have seen are typically of Shadow because Joe was there. So everybody's kind of like sneaky recording Joe and I guess Jessica too.
Not only Joe Simpson, her father, Tina Simpson, her mom.
Well, Jessica, right?
Jessica's ex-husband, or at least the husband that she split from, Eric
They
Johnson.
did reconcile. They have reconciled.
Have they?
Okay, because I read something, but I could be wrong. You know, these things are always wrong.
We never know. But he obviously was in the crowd, so maybe that does lean to the fact that they have reconciled. And then obviously Evan was there as well. He actually got up on stage at one point during a song she's singing. She kind of calls to him with her hand as her other hand's on the microphone, and he steps on stage, gives her a kiss, and then steps back into the crowd. It's so cool to see that she's able to finally embrace the music that all of us loved. And, she's had a long, hard career of a lot of ups and downs. And it's nice to see how resilient both her and her sister are.
I think it's very fitting for some reason to my brain that, well, of course, that like short residency was announced on June 3rd, but the performance happened in Labor Day. So the residency was Labor Day, meaning like she had like, probably 3 or 4 days where she was performing at the Venetian.
I think it's still ongoing. It'll go through September, I believe.
And that might be, they called it a Labor Day weekend residency, but right, I'm not super sure. Maybe they're flirting with the idea of doing a residency.
I hope so.
A lot of West Coast based stars will do that with their Vegas residencies because they can go home for the weekend because it's like a 30, 45-minute flight. So they go home.
That's something to consider is she's a mom of 3 kids and this is a 21 and over venue. And I have seen clips of her giving interviews after her show and they've asked like, oh, what do your kids think? Because obviously she's, a now 40-year-old mom. She has a 16-year-old with her, the oldest child. And she said like, oh, I wish my kids could come, but it's, they're not of age for this venue. So it seems like she really is balancing pretty well the pop career. She's reviving that and then motherhood as well.
She looked stunning too. So what a great place to end her current timeline story. She has so much more ahead of her, I'm sure. But in terms of the episode, what a great place to end since she did have so many not amazing moments that might be able to be more understood today than they were at the time.
And I think she's come out for the better. It probably was hard at the time when it was happening, but I'm on her Instagram right now looking at her. She just seems so confident and sure of herself. Not that she wasn't back then, but I'm looking at a person who clearly is so comfortable in her own self and has owned what she's experienced and takes accountability. Like she's even talked about the SNL moment. They asked, I think she was on with Andy Cohen and he asked something along the lines of like, what would you do differently? And she said, oh, I would take accountability and I would say no, like I can't do this performance. My voice isn't in the right place. And I think that type of growth that she's had only happens when you're under pressure and have had bumps. And I don't know, I just feel like she's come out through on the other side. Such a talented, beautiful person.
We love that for her. Make sure you tune in on Thursday for true crime case coverage and next Monday for another episode of Unscripted.
Can't wait to see you there.
Bye.
I think we can all agree that feeling better in your body shouldn't be a full-time job. That's why hers makes it easier to get started and stick with it. It's backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you. If you're prescribed, you can get medication as a part of a doctor-developed weight loss program, complete with ongoing care, check-ins, dosage and medication adjustments, and access to 24/7 online support at no additional cost. There aren't any hidden fees, and there are no membership fees. Weight loss by Hers is realistic, not restrictive. Hers provides access to affordable weight loss plans built around oral medication kits and GLP-1 injectable options, with oral medication kits starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid up front. This isn't cookie-cutter care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure that you get what you need to get results, all from the comfort of your couch. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through Hers. Whether you want to lose weight, grow thicker, fuller hair, or find relief for anxiety, Hers has you covered. Visit forhers.com/diaries to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/diaries. forhers.com/diaries. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not approved or reviewed for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased.
There's so much freaking noise out there about the best ways to take care of yourself, especially during pregnancy and postpartum. That's why I am so thankful that I discovered Ritual way back in 2018 after my sister turned me on to them. For me, I take their 18 Plus multivitamin as well as their probiotic, but they do also offer tailored nutrient support for key phases of pregnancy, all the way from fertility to essential prenatal and postnatal multis. I continue to choose Ritual and have since 2018 because of the way the products made me feel immediately. But before that, I pushed that order button because I was able to go on the website and see exactly where they source their ingredients from. The transparency was a really big deal for me. I also really love how easy these vitamins are to take. Each capsule features this really cool delayed release design that makes it super gentle on an empty stomach. So yes, you don't have to make sure that you have something in your stomach or not when you take a Ritual vitamin. And trust me, I've taken them both ways, so I can attest. Ritual is also third-party tested and Clean Label Project certified, so you know you can trust it. I'm also super excited because I just got my first FSA card, and Ritual is FSA eligible, so I will definitely be looking forward to spending my pre-tax dollars on my Ritual vitamins. When it comes to pregnancy and postpartum support, you want products backed by research and transparency. Mom Founded Ritual puts in the work and shows you the proof. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/diaries. That's ritual.com/diaries for 25% off your first month.